It's Comet Landing Day! Yay! Yay! Hi everyone! Welcome to Learning Space, and thank you for those of you who are actually watching us instead of the Rosetta press conference that just got delayed to about now. I got we have hellos from Nancy. It says Happy Philae Landing Day. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Philae.
I was wondering that. How do you pronounce it?
I've only been reading the tweets. I haven't actually.
Right, I know. I haven't heard it. I haven't heard anyone say it.
Oh, and you know, hello, happy Comet Stabbing Day. Yes, as far as I know, Pamela Gay did come up with that one. She's been pushing the comet stabbing hashtag. And Elad just got home from 12 hours of studying math at the university, so thank you for joining us after that marathon session. And indeed, as Guido mentions on the event page, if anyone is going to be watching the media coverage instead, if you would keep us updated in the comments, we'd appreciate that as well. I'm Nicole Gallucci. My lower third's broken. This is Georgia Bracey through the wall.
Wow, my lower third works. Okay.
My lower third works.
Hi.
So, welcome to this week's Learning Space. Since our regular broadcast time happened to be on the day that humanity landed on a comet for the first time, we thought we would, first of all, give you guys some updates, although I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page right now. We haven't gotten any updates for a little while. As far as we know, Philae has landed. However, the harpoons did not deploy as expected, and so we are waiting to hear back about its stability. I know that between the harpoons and the thruster on the top that I forgot the name of, those will be keeping it on the surface of I'm not going to say the name of the comet, 67P. I'm not going to try. I haven't practiced. So I've been following some of this this morning, even through teaching and through my doctor's appointment. So I got allergy testing, which you can't really see anymore. And yeah, so the spacecraft weighs, Philae lander weighs the equivalent of a 1 gram mass would on Earth. So that's why you have to worry about harpoons and thrusters and things like that to actually stick to the surface. So I will be watching the Twitter stream while we're talking here. And hopefully screen share the new images as they come up in the press conference. So, Georgia, how has your morning been? Have you been watching as well?
I wish I could have been.
You look like you're in meetings all day.
So that's not a good thing when you want to keep up with what's going on in the outside world. But still, that's why we have these wonderful little events and hangouts, and I have you right next door so I can yell over and say, hey, what's new? So I am also looking forward to kind of catching up on all the news. Been looking a little bit here and there, looking a little on Google Plus and trying to catch up. And so I did see the thing about the harpoon not working quite as expected. Thought I saw something about, are there screws that are supposed to...
There are also screws on the landing legs, which will help it grip to the surface.
Yeah, and those I thought were okay, right?
Sounded like they were okay, but I haven't seen an update on those in particular.
Yeah,
a little bit, so.
So I kind of hopped around trying to get a few things here and there, but I've not been able to devote any attention to it. Sure. Unfortunately, so I'll catch up.
Yeah, so the Twitter, my Twitter feed's been full of it. Hashtag Comet Landing has been full of everybody's celebrations. I have particularly been paying attention to Emily Lakdawala's Twitter feed from the Planetary Society because she always has some of the best live spacecraft coverage out there. I believe she's on the BBC radio right now talking about the spacecraft and also watching the Twitter live stream while that's going on. Let's see. I just got sidetracked by my own brain. So we have a couple of activities for you guys to talk about some about Rosetta. We've got some educational activities. I've put links to them in the Showcase app. I've also put a link to the webcomic XKCD because they have Randall Monroe's been live reporting the entire landing through comics, and it's really cute. And someone by the name of Tanya Harrison has put them together in a GIF, which I wasn't able to put in the Showcase app, but I'll throw that on the event page. She's making a moving GIF of each of the comic panels of the XK City, so it runs like a little movie. So I will put that up. In fact, I might even screen share that. Elad said, I'm looking at the other comment stream. Elad said, to be fair, I didn't catch a word my professor said during the last 2 hours because I was glued to my Twitter feed on the live updates. Don't feel bad. I was teaching for 2 hours and
still managed to be glued to the Twitter feed.
So they were doing it. It's an inquiry-based class. They do the activity, and I walk around and kind of check on their progress. But every once in a while, I would check, and I'd put up on the display for them, look guys, here's the latest image from the comet landing. So I was distracting them from the work I gave them, which probably wasn't very fair of me, but it's science happening right now. So
yeah, no, those are those teachable moments they always tell us about, that you have to stop everything and say, hey, this is really so cool because it doesn't happen every day, and we're going to learn a whole bunch of cool things from this.
Yeah.
It's live, it's real, it's human beings going out there and learning something new. So what did your students have any reactions to this?
They thought it was pretty cool. So I'm screen sharing the XKCD GIF from, you can see the URL up there. I was giving them real basic overview. I mean, we were talking about energy, which is a very general topic. Look at the little so we really don't touch on space stuff in this class. It's mostly physics and earth science. But we did talk a little bit about, I just told them generally briefly what the mission is. Here's what's happening right now. And then I got to show them the picture of the lander that this Rosetta spacecraft took when that came up live. So that was pretty cool because it was happening now. So what you guys are seeing, like I said, is the XKCD comic. So Randall Monroe has been live comicking. I don't know if there's
what do you call that?
Live comicking landing, so that's been pretty
cool. That's great.
Check that out on XKCD and go through all of them. One activity I'm working on right now, it is a more of a craft. George and I have been sitting here crafting for the last hour.
Mine's kind of a craft too, in a way.
Yeah, so there is a little paper model of Rosetta and the Philae lander. And so I'm going to be working on this. I've started cutting it out. So I had Dawn, thank you Dawn, print this out because she has a color printer and I don't, on cardstock. So I'm cutting the pieces out and going to try and put together a spacecraft and a lander while we're talking. Georgia, do you want to go ahead and show your activity?
I can start with mine, sure. So I also want to say, so sort of the theme here is models, which we want to get education-y for just a minute, is a very important piece in science education. And the new science standards for the United States, the next-gen science standards, touch on this quite a bit. It's one of the scientific and engineering practices that students need to be familiar with and need to practice, and that is developing and using models. So we've all got different kinds of models. We actually walk around with models in our head. There's mental models of things. So the idea of modeling is actually pretty familiar, but we don't always talk about some key parts of models, and two of them we're going to talk about today a little bit, and one that students should know. One is that models have limitations. So no model is perfect. All models do some things well and other things not so well. And actually, kids have kind of fun picking apart models and saying, well, that's not right. That's not how that really works. And all models have that. So you kind of have to pick and choose what works for what you want to do with your model. So there's that part of modeling. to bring out with students, and also that models are kind of iterative. So models change. So we have a model that we think works pretty good, and then, wow, you know, we find out new stuff. And so then we have to go back and say, well, we need to tweak this model a little bit. We need to make this change, and then, you know, there we go. We have a slightly modified model, which is even better. And that process can just continue on and on and on. So models aren't static. They get evaluated and they get tweaked as new evidence comes to light. And so that's a really important part of using models too. So teachers should be bringing that out with their students as they're playing around with models. So when I was looking for one today, I went to NASA Wavelength, which we've talked a lot about before, and I know Nicole is throwing a link out there somewhere for this activity. This is called Comet on a Stick. So right away, and I have to undo some of it because people have been talking about stabbing. So this actually has a stabby part to it. So this is the stick. You can, of course, use just about anything you want for a stick because, like many great astronomy activities, it involves a styrofoam ball and a stick. So most people have some form of those things around. But, you know, with students, of course, you don't want to get too stabby. So be careful about how pointy your stick is. So now I have to re-stab my comet.
I muted myself because I'm giggling while I'm cutting.
So mine's, of course, already kind of completed because I was playing around with it today. But the idea for this activity is it's really good for like 4th through 8th grade, but it can, of course, be modified up or down, and good teachers can always do that. And it's very user-friendly. Apart from the stabby stick and the styrofoam ball, you can use just about anything and everything for this activity. And you're creating a model of a comet. So you first, of course, put the stick into the styrofoam ball, and you have the basis of it. But then what you would do in a classroom with this is get your students into groups and tell them that they are going to make a model of a comet. They've got some basic stuff they can use, but they have to decide what their model is going to be good at showing. So there's lots of things models can show. They can show the composition of something. They can show the shape. They can show something about how it forms, where it forms. If we're talking comets here, something about its orbit. What color is it? How does it affect the Earth? So there's a lot to learn about comets, and most models will probably only be good at showing a few of those things. So the students have to decide that. But one thing they all can do is, as you will see, I have these lovely streamers on my comet. Everybody should put streamers on their comet. And that will be a model of one particular interesting comet feature. So depending on, of course, how much you've talked about comets, your students may or may not know that comets have 2 kinds of tails. This can demonstrate one kind of tail for the comet. And we'll get to the demo part in a second. So basically what I've got here is a styrofoam ball on a stick with, in my case, so the activity says to use some ribbons. You can use mylar streamers. Again, get creative and resourceful, whatever you have. I happen to have in my office some old tissue paper from wrapping presents, and so I just ripped those into little streamers. That works great too, whatever you've got. And then, so my model is going to show something about the tail of a comet, at least one kind of tail. And then I also found in my drawer an old plastic bag, because I thought, you know, to show the shape of a comet, comets aren't round. So especially with our Comet 67P, it's kind of duck-shaped. They're odd shapes, right? I crunched this particular plastic bag around my model and just taped it in so it came out as just any old weird shape that wasn't round. So here we go. This is my comet on a stick. There's all kinds of suggestions in the activity for other things you can use, basically whatever you've got around to give to the students, to give to your kids to play with this and make their model. So cotton balls, you can color it. Again, whatever you decide your model is going to be really good at showing and teaching about comets. So then the cool thing with the tail This is the part I had to bring something from home. Hold on. And Nicole said she's not going to borrow this too.
Oh yeah, I'm going to run over a bit.
All right. So somebody can be the sun, and you need a hairdryer for that. So then you can hold up your comet on a stick, turn on your hairdryer full blast, and see what it does to the tail. There you are with that. And then, of course, so which of the two kinds of tails is my model showing? So which of the two kinds of comet tails interacts with the solar radiation, right, the solar wind? One does, one doesn't, and so, for example, my model would be pretty good at showing that kind of tail, but, you know, so the ion tail, but the dust tail, it's not even there. So after the groups build their comets and their models and talk about them a little bit, then they can evaluate them, tell what's good, what's bad, what's the strength of a particular model, where is it weak, how could we modify it then, change it, make it better, and come up with another model that's improved. So there's a little bit of engineering there in that sense that you go through these iterations. Models don't just sit there. They transform. They grow, they change with new evidence coming out. So this is a very easy, fun activity. Again, good for middle school, but could be for just about anything, depending on how elaborate you wanted to get. And is really good at showing the limitations and strengths and the changing aspect of models, which students don't always get, because you don't always talk about those things.
Very cool.
That is my comet on a stick. And again, you can go, so wavelength is, you can just go into wavelength, then search comet on a stick. It'll come right up.
It's just nasawavelength.org, right?
Sorry, yep, nasawavelength.org.
And we've put the link to this particular activity in the showcase app. So if you're open to the Q&A, you can switch over to the showcase and see that app. And if you're listening after the fact, I'm quite sure Richard Drum will put these in the show notes, or Aviva. Richard or Aviva will be putting in the show notes for us for 365. So I'm checking the tweet stream now as
what's the
press
comet
conference
news?
is going on. And Guido, I totally understand if you want to mute us and listen to the press conference, because you can listen to this later. You don't have to listen to us simultaneously. Elad says, I never saw the duck. Looks more like a peanut to me. Jeff Wag, hey! Figured you guys would be more interesting in the press conference. Well, thanks. The science thing. We don't have the science, but we have the education. I'm looking at the Twitter stream to try and find a newer image, and I'm not seeing it. Just we landed, clear signal. Sorry, this is a tweet from Sarah Hurst, Planet Doctor. We landed, had clear signal. We got housekeeping and science data. Very good news. So that is, and it's complicated. Alice and Evoldson, who we had I think last week was our early childhood show. Yeah, she was on the show last week. It's complicated to land on a comet, from Stefan, one of the scientists. Emily Lakdawala confirms from Ulamek. I apologize if I'm messing up these names. Lander is not anchored to the surface. We do not fully understand, so what they are talking about now is still speculation at this point. The pictures that we've seen going around so far seem to be the most current ones. Let me open up. First of all, if you didn't see last night when the lander separated from the Philae lander separated from Rosetta first. Oops, go this one first. It turned around and took a picture of Rosetta, so you can see, like, there's Rosetta's one of its solar panels. There's the main body of the spacecraft, so that's its first postcard for little Philae. And then Rosetta went ahead and took a picture of Philae on its way down to the comet, and they were, I know, this is the one that came up right in the middle of my class. I was like, oh my god, guys, look! They could see clearly that the landing legs and the antennas had all deployed properly. And so that was a really good confirming photo.
Rosetta picture is cool.
I know, I love it when
it really is. It's like
other spacecraft
out there doing its job. Amazing.
It's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And this was This is from Philae. I don't remember what distance above the surface this was. So this is above the surface of the comet. And then right before touchdown, this picture was going around Twitter, but the source we weren't entirely sure, but it looks like it's pretty sure this came from a screen capture of the live webcast, and that this came from the surface right before touchdown. So those are the pictures that are going around on Twitter right now, as far as I can see.
Fantastic.
As far as, let's see, they're saying right now, tomorrow we may find we are still sitting on the surface, but in a slightly different position from where we first landed. So not only have we landed on a comet, we seem to be scooting around on it. So we'll be getting they'll be keeping an eye on that, I'm sure. May have bounce. Very interesting things. So while that's going on, I'm continuing to make my little. So this is not as much a useful model, more of a craft project.
But it is a useful model. Wait, so first of all, where do you get that?
That I got right off the ESA website.
Okay.
Again, the link is in the Showcase app, so check that out. I'm pretty sure I just Googled Rosetta paper model because I saw somebody tweet it earlier, and I didn't have the link from that tweet, so I just Googled Rosetta paper model, and it'll be on the ESA website. But I think it does give you an idea. So go ahead.
No, so can you hold it up again? Well, so first of all, you can get the general shape of the spacecraft. You
and
can
assuming
see
that
some of its components
to scale,
got some solar panels.
This would be Rosetta. Oops.
Yeah.
And this would be Philae. So it's got the little guys.
Sticking his tongue out.
Sticking his tongue out. They have alternate faces too, so Rosetta could also have a really, really happy face, and Philae can have a like, oh my God, what's happening face. The camera and there's arms, so I'll probably end up finishing it after the show and tweet pictures of it.
That's okay. And I would just say that, so this is a very engaging model, which I don't know if scientists, well, they do. I mean, in a sense, depending on what you're going to use your model for, if you're going to talk to the public and show a model, like a visualization, you want it to be engaging somehow. You want it to be beautiful, inspiring, capture the imagination, or you're just going to lose your audience and you won't be able to share the science. So when students, are learning, if you don't have them engaged, you're not going to be able to share the science either with them. So in a sense, maybe, in a traditional science kind of way, this is a silly thing that's not really a model, but really it is, because the beauty of this model is it's engaging, it's safe, it's, someone can create it themselves, it's kid friendly, so they can interact with it well. Easy materials to construct, right? It's got lots of good strengths that maybe you have to get in that teacher space to really appreciate, or parents.
Yeah.
So it has actually lots of really good strengths to it. So, and of course the weaknesses, are maybe there's some misrepresentation there. They really don't have faces, and other things, but you can see the relationship too, sort of that system of the main spacecraft and Philae. So it really is a great model. Again, you have to look at what are you using your model for, what do you want to teach with it, and who's the audience for the model. So, and you know what? The kids can all take this model home with them.
Right.
Which is also important.
And I think actually
they can share it with others. So it's really good. So let's see. Wait, I want to see more of it because I haven't done. I have to do this later.
The anthropomorphizing of the spacecraft I love, and I saw some people tweeting about that earlier. Like, what's with all the because Rosetta and Philae. There are Twitter accounts of each craft that are tweeting in first person. And I think the first time we really saw that happen successfully was the Phoenix lander on Mars.
I know, I was just thinking of that too.
That was the one that I think really kicked that off. And so people got personal. I mean, we all know the spacecraft is not like sentient, right? We're not there yet. But it was really touching to, especially when it shut down. I mean, I'm pretty sure a few of us shed a tear because you feel a personal connection to something. And the graphics that they've put together for this mission are super adorable. And the tweeting has been really, really awesome. So I think anthropomorphizing is definitely a good thing for getting people engaged. And I'm going to break this little hand because this is frustrating. I apparently don't have fine enough motor skills to
No.
Yeah, spacecraft don't have hands, but that's okay. All right, I am going to go ahead and make my model of a comet, which you guys have probably seen before, especially if you watch the Weekly Space Hangout, as I did do this one for... what did I do this for? I did it for one of the Weekly Space Hangouts a while ago. So this is a physical analog of a comet. I'm going to make it in this bag here, and we can talk about the strengths and weaknesses as we go on. And I'm also just comet bouncing. We may have landed twice. I'm just checking the tweet stream. They're basically any of you who are actually watching can give me an idea if I'm missing something important there, except that, oh yeah, here's the actual image of, hang on.
Yeah, I was going to try to
set this one along. This is
an
image of the scientist looking at the surface, which is so freaking cool. Someone just kind of stood over their shoulder and took a picture. So thank you, Elad, for sending that along. And full press briefing tomorrow. Thank you, Nancy. Full press briefing will happen tomorrow at 1400 Central European Time, which is 1300 GMT. So, yeah, figure it out for your local time zone from there. I think we're 6 hours behind GMT, so that's, I can't do math in my head.
I believe so, yes.
9 a.m. for us. In Central Time in the U.S., so sounded like it was a really brief briefing, literally, and that they will continue with full press briefing when they know more. So yay! So we'll continue with our model comet. I was just doing this demo 2 nights ago at an elementary school. I don't think we've had Katie Durbin on the show, have we?
I don't think so.
We have. She's a professor here, and we've worked together on science fair. In her daughter's school, she did an astronomy night, and so I was like, oh, do comets, not realizing it was the perfect timing because this is Monday night. So what I tell the kids is that comets are made of a lot of the same types of stuff that we have here on Earth, and so I have a bag of dirt. I grabbed whatever was convenient in the resource center. So I have some dirt. So comets are made of dirt and rocks. They're often actually called dirty snowballs. So I start off with some dirt. And okay, here's my water bottle. Comets are thought to have brought a lot of the water that we have here on Earth. Earth's formation was a very hot, intense process. Probably boiled off, and being so close to the sun as it was, boiled off most of the volatiles like water. So it's likely that a lot of our water came from cometary impacts later on. So here is my water, and at this point I ask everybody, "What have I made?" And they're like, "It's mud." We have mud. Very exciting. There are some other chemicals in comets that's mud, are commonly found on Earth. One of them is ammonia, and so I have this, see how I've covered the labels? I did this 2 years ago. We're still on the same bottle of glass cleaner.
Yes.
In the STEM center. This is glass cleaner with ammonia in it, so I'll spritz a little bit of that. Oop, there we go. So now it's smelly mud. At this point, there's usually room for organics, and the things people typically use to represent molecules are corn syrup or soda, neither of which I have with me. Usually I have coffee. I figure that's close. It's got carbon in it, right? Then I'll pour a little bit of that, but I don't have any of that today. So we'll just pretend I can like put some skin flakes in there, and that'll be my organic molecules for this cup.
Excellent. Creative and resourceful. Yeah.
Yes. I've done this demo lots and lots of different places.
For teaching, yeah.
I didn't actually put a link to this one because it's everywhere. Look up Dry Ice Comet, how to make a comet. Lots of people have their own versions. I have a version from Dark Skies Bright Kids, since that's the group I work with.
That's right.
UVA. There's a copy on. There's one on Wavelength. Pretty sure the Pacific Science Center one, because one of the guys who works high up at the Pacific Science Center, I believe, is the person who came up with this demo during Halley's Comet's last approach, and I actually met him at a workshop ago. So I was like, "You're the guy who made the comet for the first time."
Yes, yeah.
So I have now for the dry ice. Dry ice is carbon dioxide, a solid form of carbon dioxide, and I'm going to use a glove because you don't want to. You don't want
puppets.
You don't want to burn your skin. So I'm going to be used. I'm not a puppet. I'm not a very good puppet person.
Come on, what's his name, Nicole?
What?
What's your puppet's name? Come on.
Oh, somebody come up with a name.
I have to name him.
Somebody come up with
Dragon. He's cute. All right.
I'm not very good at that. All right. So here's actually a chunk of dry ice for an example. So here's you can actually see the what looks like smoke coming off of it. This ice is sublimating. It is turning directly from a solid into a gas, which is what all the ices in a comet do in space, because there's no air pressure. This happens to do that at earthly air pressures as well, so it makes a really good example. Best way to do this is if you have pellet dry ice. We do not have pellet dry ice. We got blocks of it, and so I crushed it up. Georgia heard me pounding in here. I was using a mallet to crush it up into a powder. So I'm going to scoop some of that out. Let's see. Don't mind me. Georgia, keep talking.
I was going to say, what's the best way to pound up dry ice?
Mallet. But I learned that the TSA will confiscate your mallet. So don't fly with it.
That's a good story.
Yeah, lessons learned.
But yeah, you do have to talk a little bit about safety with this demo. Or with this model, we should say.
Hang on.
But what it lacks in safeness, it makes up for totally in just awesome impressiveness.
Okay.
This is where in the cooking shows it says how you prepare things earlier.
This is definitely something you want to do for your classroom. You don't want them to do individually unless you have a lot of volunteers around to kind of keep an eye on everything.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've tried to put some of the powdered dry ice in. Glove. And since I don't have millions of years to wait around for it to solidify and come together due to electromagnetic attraction and gravitational attraction, hang on, I need more powder. The trick is to squish it. Maybe more.
All right, you're learning all the tricks of the trade here. Ziploc bags. Ziploc bags, also an awesome thing. You've got so many good uses.
Yes.
And she's creating the comet inside a Ziploc bag.
Of course, don't seal the bag unless you want it to explode all over the place.
Another good tip. Good.
So what I'm doing is I'm just squeezing it, putting pressure on it. You kind of have to experiment a bit to find the right ratio of dry ice to dirt and water. I think I don't have enough dry ice because I crushed it before broadcast, and a lot of it sublimated. Often you can get dry ice at a grocery store. I haven't found one around here, but we do have access to it from our science department. And so here is nucleus of a comet. It is not duck-shaped. I was going to try and make a duck-shaped one, but I think I need more ice for it. It is dark. The surface of it is dark. Now, there's a lot of big chunks of ice. That's probably not terribly realistic, but really we're going to find out when we see the data from Philae what the surface of a comet is really truly like. But comets are actually quite dark. They're super dirty snowballs.
How are you, Dave?
Yeah. Doing fun. I'm kind of on the air, but go ahead.
Hi, Dennis.
Hey. Oh, this is Nicole. She's making a comet. You got go see it live next door.
We're making a comet for the internet. And what's happening is the little chunks of ice are actually sublimating out. What that carbon dioxide did is it froze the water and the ammonia and the other volatiles and is keeping this dirt ball together. This will eventually start to fall apart in my hand if I'm not careful. What it also does is actually whistling. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's whistling.
Would comets really whistle?
You know what? We don't know. Probably not. I mean, we wouldn't hear it unless there's enough material for sound to propagate around it, which there might be in the coma. I'm not sure. It's also starting to get a shell of water ice because the water ice, the water vapor in the air around it is kind of freezing to it as well. So it'll start to build up this like frosty covering. So yeah, you want to do this as a demo for your classroom or your kids, or if there's a high helper to student ratio, you can let them do their own as long as they've all got gloves. We have like in DSBK we had a big plastic box of oven mitts that we would just take with us. And we had the ratio was maybe 3 to 1, so we could keep an eye on them when they had their dry ice in their little.
Worry about goggles with.
It is recommended to use goggles. As you see, I'm not wearing goggles.
I think glasses on.
I'm wearing glasses.
Glasses are good. Yeah.
Yeah, glasses are okay.
Yeah. So that's a very. I mean, this model shows an awful lot about the components, the structure of a comet, and how it really looks. At least much more than my crafty model.
And you get the little.
You can talk about so much more, right, with this model.
You can get little jets as well. This little, I mean, it's.
Yeah, so it shows a little more about the processes going on.
And so that's that material, that gas, that dust, that's going to form the coma, and it's going to form the tails as well.
And I can see it as a much more active kind of thing than just a craft model.
I'm going to bring it over, and we can use your blow dryer.
Okay.
BRB in a minute.
Excellent. So here she comes. So, and even this model, even though there's so many things you can talk about with the dry ice, you can still keep it as simple and just show a few features if you want. Okay, so wait.
I was doing something outside my room. Everything just fell off her desk.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Do it again. It's so intense, it's just blowing everything off of it. I was hoping we'd get more of a coma, but I didn't quite see that.
You can see a little stuff going.
It's definitely melting the water onto my glove.
Low power.
And
not really happening.
Not that exciting. When I pull it away, a lot of it comes off. I think it's pushing it away so fast. You don't even see it. Okay. I'm going to run back to my office now.
My tissue paper streamers were much more
effective
that way. So note to self. Yeah. So all models have their limitations, and sometimes simple is good. Sometimes it's worth it to go get the dry ice because it really is a really cool demonstration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, I like this glove in particular because it's thought that an asteroid or a comet was responsible for the demise of the dinosaurs. And this is the dinosaur's revenge.
So that's a dinosaur. I thought it was a
I don't know, but I decided to call it a dinosaur. So I'm sorry, my paleontologist friends will yell at me. We have a link in the Q&A from Jeff. I wasn't going to bring that up, Jeff, but about what happens if you're not careful with dry ice. If you are curious to hear what happens if you're not careful with dry ice, you can read Jeff's story because I was there.
You were there.
And I'm partly responsible for the chaos that ensued. So thank you for that, Jeff. Okay, let me look over the comments. We have a hi from Tatiana. We have the color looks very similar. Of course, the pictures we get are probably grayscale, but that's probably about close to the color. I think mine's more brown because it's potting soil, whereas I think those are more gray. Michael Jobin wonders about seismic vibrations on a comet. Not sure. I know they talked some about magnetic field fluctuations, but don't know much else about that. I did see one of the Project Scientist shirt. Have been Nathaniel Sanchez. I'm gonna wait to write up my commentary about that, but there was a bit of you can see the Twitter stream about that if you're curious. Like Nancy said, full press briefings tomorrow at 2 o'clock Central European, 13 Universal Time is the full press conference. And Guido is reporting back from the recent press conference. Best to follow the Twitters. Nothing much new. Still very careful. Big applause after mentioning that Philae may have bounced and therefore landed twice. So not only did we land on a comet, we landed twice in a comet today, possibly. So pretty on that. So it doesn't look like there were any new images or new news from the press conference, other than they're keeping an eye on things, and we'll have more updates to come in the next few days. So keep on watching. I guess the hashtag Comet Landing. Keep on watching the ESA feed. Keep on watching the Rosetta and Philae Twitter feeds. Like I said, Emily Lakdawala's got amazing good coverage. Alan Boyle at MSNBC has good coverage. Phil Plate's been tweeting. Katie Mack did some amazing tweeting last night when most of the rest of us were asleep because she's in Australia. So she covered those time zones. So yeah, a lot of great people are keeping everybody up to date. So thank you for that. And I hope you guys, if you are teaching, or if you have kids, or if you just want to show your coworkers some of these interesting comet models, either the ball and stick model, the dry ice model, or if you want to really get crafty, you can send us your pictures of your little Rosettas and your little Philae landers. That would be pretty cool.
Excellent.
Yeah. Do you have any other comments, Georgia, on comets or models?
Not really, other than even a drawing is a model. So again, if you really are just short on materials and you want a quick fill for something, students can draw pictures and label, and that's a model there, and you can go through the same thing. What's the strength, what's the weakness of the model, how can you make it better, what 3 things do you think your model is showing about whatever it's modeling, comet, whatever it might be. So it can be very simple, or it can be very more elaborate and impressive, like the dry ice. So whatever fits whatever you're doing.
Yep, sounds good. That is excellent, and thank you for pointing out that even the cute little artistic model has helpful educational features.
Yes, it does.
It amuses me, but I don't do enough.
And it's amusing.
Mm-hmm.
Why not make it amusing? Does he have different faces too? Sorry.
Yeah, there's the sticky tongue face, and then there's the ooh face. I haven't finished cutting out yet.
No, my harpoon's not working.
Oh, my harpoons are not working. All right, I think I'm gonna clean the dirt and dry ice off my desk and get on with my day. Thank you guys again for joining us, even while the ESA press conference is going on.
Go out there and find out more about comets.
Hope you learned a bit more about comets, a little more about models in the educational process, and ways that you can follow the Rosetta Mission as it keeps going. Yeah. I think that's all we have. And what is next week's show?
Hey, do you want to recite the litany of upcoming
the litany of shows. So Friday at noon Pacific will be the weekly Space Hangout. Fraser Kane's hosting that. I'm going to try and be on again this week. Last week I squeed with joy over the ALMA image of planets forming. But we will be recapping the space news from this week, which I'm sure will heavily feature the Rosetta results.
There was dancing last week, wasn't there?
There's a gif of me dancing on the internet. Thanks, Richard. And then Monday is Astronomy Cast. I don't know yet what their show topic will be, but Cosmic Quest News tonight, and I'll probably have that in there if that's up. So Astronomy Cast happens also at noon Pacific on Monday, and then back around to Wednesday, Learning Space. We'll be talking with Sarah Mitchell about family science activities at NASA. They've done some really cool family science activities. Family science doesn't just mean kids, it means kids and parents working together, kids and caretakers working together
Awesome.
to learn some new science. So we'll be talking with her about that program and where that's going next week. So pretty cool.
A lot happening. We have comet updates next week too.
We'll probably have more comet updates. We'll update you guys. Why not? Of course. Or you can update us if we miss things. All right, so thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Georgia.
Bye.
Bye.